In the last video, you learned how to make a project and create output using the Quick Content Generator. This video will cover the other way you can create output with Content Foundry, and that's using the template and bulk export system. So, using the used iPhone project that I made in the last video, I'm going to hit Manage Output Templates to create a new template. So I'm going to call it Test Article. This will walk you through creating a standard HTML article with images, videos, and links. In the next video, I'll walk you through some more specific types of content, how to generate content for XRumor, how to make a line separated list of titles, stuff like that. So for now, I'm going to enable everything over here because I want everything to be in my output for this template. These right here, these options override anything on these tabs. So if you have it turned off, it doesn't matter if you have this set to 100%. This determines whether or not ultimately it uses images. And this just provides you some convenience. You don't have to flip around through the tabs to enable the main components. So the algorithm here is going to determine how titles are generated. And you've got a couple options. The Markov readable and unique they mean what they sound like. The readable option is going to make a little bit more sense, but it's not going to be quite as unique, and you won't be able to create as much unique content from what you scraped. While as the Markov unique will allow you to get more unique content out of what you've scraped at the cost of being more incomprehensible. Splice titles will take two random titles from one or more of the keyword caches you have in your project and smash them together. Title templates is a new feature where it draws upon internal templates that it has instead of the content that you've scraped to generate titles. And this option allows you to create more than 10 million unique titles without having to have scraped anything. So this option is great if you need a lot of titles and you haven't, or you weren't able to scrape that much content. So, while the content body, for example, of articles you submit, whether or not those are 100% unique isn't nearly as important as having unique titles every single time. This option allows you to get that. Finally, there's the random title, where it will just use a random title from a content cache you have active, and then the primary keyword, it'll just use the primary keyword as your title. Here's how you determine what keyword appears in your title and whether or not it's unique to your article and all the spins that you have activated, or if you want it to be unique to the entire export. So if, for example, you're going to be exporting 250,000 titles and you hit that, you're going to get 250,000 unique titles. And I would really only recommend trying that with the title templates unless you've scraped a very large amount of content. That's a pretty large amount of titles. These are pretty self-explanatory. These control how long and short your titles are, and of course your spin options are here. For content, the algorithms mean the same thing. They just apply to sentences instead of titles. The uniqueness also applies to sentences, not necessarily like paragraphs or the entire article. So when you're choosing unique to export and you're generating 10,000 articles, that means no sentence will ever be reused between any of those 10,000 articles. So if generation slows down while you're trying to generate a lot of articles or lengthy text pieces, and you've got this set to unique to export, it's probably having some trouble coming up with that many unique sentences. So that's something to keep in mind. You have control over how long and short the article or the content is, either via word length, character length, or if you want to limit it by sentences. So if you just want one sentence output, you can just select that. Decoy intros are just taking a random unprocessed paragraph that was at the beginning of an article you scraped and placing it at the beginning of what it's going to output here. This in combination with media, either image or video at the beginning, dramatically reduces moderation, as you know, if it looks legit and they read the first couple sentences and it makes sense, a lot of times they'll move on to the next page that's been flagged. So you can use that if you're going to be doing a lot of posting to like Web 2.0s or places that heavily moderate submissions. That's an option to try and reduce moderation for you. Character replacement. Some people swear by this. Some people think it's completely pointless. So it's here if you want it. It will take characters in the non-important words of the content it generates and swap them out for HTML character symbols that look like the letter it's supposed to be, but to a computer it means something else. So what that ends up doing is it makes your content look unique while it reads the same way each time. So that's how you would enable character replacement. Of course, then you have the spin options here. Keyword density, if you don't care about keyword density, you can set this to 0. Any other number you set it to, that'll be the average that it shoots for. So if I set it for 2, it's not always going to be a 2% keyword density, but it'll be around 1.5 to 2.5%, and average around 2% over the number of articles that I export. Alright, moving over here to images and videos. These are how you determine how often they appear in your content, whether or not you want to style it, leave it plain, and these all take into account the type of markup. So if you do BB code, it'll use the right markup, and then you can choose distribution. These settings down here apply to both images and videos, always after title and always at end. If you have these checked and you have and it determines that a video is going to be dropped or an image is going to be used, then it will try and put it at the beginning and the end of the article. That's how you control that. Always separate means it will always put text content between images and videos. It won't just put them straight together. And null spins means that it will put blank spins with the video and image code, so they don't always show up in the same location. Even if you have, even if you're spinning your URLs and you have different images showing up, sometimes it's enough of a footprint that they show up in the same place. So this null spins helps you take care of that. And then on the outbound link screen here, you can see how these categories start to come into play. They give you granular control over 4 different categories of links. So again, don't let the name throw you off. You don't have to use. You might not ever even build tier 3 links. So you can use this to mean whatever you want to. It just allows you to get control. So for example, you want your money site links to always be at the top of the article, and your authority links to always be at the bottom. This is how you do that. The spin links, pretty self-explanatory. The cross spin means that it will, anything that is activated for cross spin, when it's spinning links, it will pull links together from the different categories. If you have these unchecked, then these will all be spun tier 1 together and never with another tier. And then finally here on the output settings, we have the export format, which is how each iteration is saved, if it's saved to an individual file, if you're separating it with line breaks, which means it would put everything into one file, or spin everything together into one file. And then here you have the option to hard limit the total amount of links, regardless of what these maxes are here. So if you wanted more, you wanted some random, you wanted it to be able to sometimes put 4 tier 1s and only 1 authority, but you wanted it to be able to go both ways, and then you can limit it at 5, for example, so you'll never have 20 links in your article. And then finally, markup mode, you have the option to do HTML, BB code, or wiki markup, and that affects everything, from links to videos and image tags and all that. So that covers all the options you have available to you while creating an output template. The next video will show you how to put those together in ways to get specific components that you're probably looking for. For now, I'm going to save that and go over here and explain the bulk export portion. So I'll grab my test article. As I mentioned in the last video, you can select multiple keywords here. For example, if I want to select everything, 400 keywords, if I have this selected to entire export, then it's going to split up the 100,000 quantity I have here between these keywords randomly. It's not going to evenly distribute them necessarily. But the other option you have is per keyword. So in this case, it would generate 100,000 articles for each keyword. I don't know anybody who needs 100,000 articles for a keyword, so I'll put that to 100, and I'll do entire export. So it's going to leave some of those keywords out, but you just hit export, and then it'll begin building content based off of the template we just made. And there you go. So that was pretty fast. So that covers how to set up an output template. Join me in the next video. I'll show you how to make specific output templates for line separated content, how to make content for cloak sites and the like.